right, welcome to the December episode of From the Mayor's Desk featuring our mayor, Tim Woolley. Time goes fast, and this marks the 2-year anniversary of Mayor Woolley's election to his current office and the halfway point of his 4-year term. For this episode of From the Mayor's Desk, we're going to talk about some of the accomplishments of this administration, along with maybe some peeks into the future. We'll have a couple other questions for you, Tim, too. Mayor, first, welcome.
Thank you.
And happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you.
Did you enjoy you were just at the Winterfest a couple days ago?
Yeah, that was awesome. I had a great time there. Everything went well.
Right.
Like I said, if there was anything that we could nitpick about, it was, the gap between the fireworks. But I did just find out a little while ago that there was an issue with how they set them off or something. So that's
really?
why. But like I said, it just kept building anticipation. People were thinking it was over, and then they'd go off again. So
you mentioned that.
But as a whole, it seemed like everybody was really happy with it. I know I got a lot of compliments of it, and shout out to our Parks and Rec, our, Melanie, all the volunteers, Cindy and Sarah over in the clerk's department with Goodfellas. Jamie McCarty really helped out with the 5K, and just a great team effort, and a lot of employees volunteered their time. I saw Kathy Green, Paula Fisher over there, and just great event. Right. We got lucky on the weather. The rain stopped early in the morning, so
it was far better than it was the previous year.
Yes, last year was brutal.
Especially in the
morning. If you
morning.
remember, I think in the run we couldn't even put the start-finish thing up because the wind was blowing so hard it kept blowing over, and it was a little brutal last year. But this year was great. It was a little damp, but other than that, the parade was very successful, and like I said, a lot of people were coming up, after Santa Claus lit the lights and everything, and it was pretty good. We, I can't think of the lady that, brings all the character actors and stuff.
Carrie Ann the Clown.
Yeah, the Grinch. The guy that plays the Grinch is incredible.
I heard
he is really good. And how he came up on stage first and stuff. So that worked out pretty good, and I think everybody was really happy. I know, I think one of the highlights is definitely when I have the pleasure of welcome Santa Claus to Taylor, and just seeing all the little kids' faces lined up along the fence right there in the front. I got to take a picture of that one of these years, because it's just, you got smiles from ear to ear, and their eyes are just like that. So
what was cool is when you looked at the participation levels, the run heavily participated again.
Numbers were way up.
Number up. And then when you looked in the pavilion and with the units and everything.
Yeah.
When everybody got in the pavilion, that place was crowded.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I noticed last year. It got the weather got a little better towards the evening last year, but if you remember, I had to do a wedding last year, so I was running back and forth, and I kind of ran in there, and I was shocked at how full that pavilion was, and even outside the pavilion. So it was nice, and I thought the fireworks were great, and everything went well, and it's kind of one of those short and sweet events, but it packs a lot in a short time, which is nice.
And sometimes short and sweet at this time of year is better.
Absolutely,
especially when you're getting into
40
the
degrees
evening.
outside.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's start. When we're looking back over the 2 years of your administration, there, let's start with your office, because you're handling it a little bit different from maybe some of the past ones. One of the first things that personally I noticed, and that I think a lot of other people noticed, is your general availability is, you don't have to, I'm sure you would prefer if they made if they called and made.
That's recommended,
that's recommended. Yeah. But if somebody comes in, you see them.
If I'm available, 100%. So, and that was one of the reasons that I wanted to bring another person up into the office. So, as you know, my door is always open. Unfortunately, there's a lot more security measures in City Hall these days because of the times and stuff. So, the general public can't get upstairs without being escorted and stuff like that. But if they walk in and they call and talk to the security guard, or see the security guard, if I'm in a meeting, which I am pretty busy most of the, and if I can't see them, Kimber or Michelle is usually available to go down there.
Gotcha.
The only thing that I say is if if I'm off at another meeting and Dan or somebody where they're in the office by themselves, I want them to go downstairs with the security guard right there and have the discussion with, because some people can get a little emotional, you know.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt.
And, you know, they get a little carried away sometimes. So I don't want them to ever be in a situation where they could be at risk by themselves or something. So, yeah, and then if I'm available, you know, they'll reach out to our office. Kimber or Michelle will come in and say, hey, and I'll be like, I got 20 minutes. Tell them to come on up.
And the other funny thing is, I mean,
a lot of times they're shocked when they walk in.
well, the other thing is, you know, there have been times when people have walked into City Hall and you're in the lobby talking to somebody.
Absolutely.
And, you know, a lot of times the mayors didn't do that in the past, but you're pretty open about it.
Well, Carl, you know, I like to observe. You know, I always... I try to get downstairs as much as possible, which I think I do quite a bit, because I want to see the employees as well, and I want to see how things are going. If there's things that we can maybe change to better, you know, help the residents, then that's what I want to look at. So I'm killing two birds with one stone. I'm going around saying hi to all the employees as well as, you know, observing on how the departments are being ran and if there's little things we can do. But at the end of the day, from day one, I've always said, I want everybody to feel like they're part of the team.
Right.
And then that's what I try to do. And I'm no better or any different than anybody else, so I want to go down there and I try to get down to DPW. I walk into the police station, you know, or the fire department, and just kind of, everybody kind of thinks like, you know, I'm just here to say hi, man.
Right,
you know?
exactly. That goes a long way toward good morale, too.
I think it's tremendous, and I learned that in the service.
Sure.
You know, the better NCOs, the higher up, the first sergeants and the commanders and stuff, when they come down and, you know, talked with the guys, so to speak, and stuff, I think that went over so much, you know, because it just made, as a soldier, it made me feel like, you know what, they don't feel like they're any better than us. They feel like they're, you know, hey, these guys matter. And a lot of the upper, especially the Vietnam guys, you know, they were all aware about it. You know, in the military, officers don't eat until all the enlisted is done eating.
Right.
And it kind of goes by, you know, all the line troops are eating first, and then your NCOs, and then the officers and stuff, because they're the ones fighting the war.
Well, there's nothing quite as enjoyable and as relaxing as seeing the boss come up to you and say good morning.
Yeah.
Or they know your first name, they know maybe
I tell
your
them
kids.
to call me by my first name.
Yeah,
you know,
I hear you.
And they give me all the respect in the world, and I appreciate that. But I don't have any problem with them calling me Tim. I tell them that. You know, if we're in a council meeting or something, you know, it's you know, or if I'm, you know, they know.
Sure,
you know, and that's what I try to do. I try to pop into the break rooms down at the DPW and stuff. And if there's a winter storm, I try to show up over there. You know, with some food maybe for everybody that's working over and stuff, to let them know that I appreciate them.
And that goes a long way. When we look at the financials of the city of Taylor, two balanced budgets, each which has contributed to an increase in the fund balance, two clean audits by Plant Moran, the local auditors being very laudatory to how the government has navigated through some difficult times. You got to be kind of proud of that, because when you combine that with your 8 years of service on the council, you guys have come from here to here.
Yeah, to negative, you know,
Yes.
and over the last couple of years, we've been continued to add to that. It's running a conservative budget. Sometimes I think it's a little too conservative, but you know, we're a big city, but you know, at the end of the day, it works out good, and each year we look and see what we have to do to be able to maintain, you know, our current fund balance. If we can add money into that, that's great.
Sure.
You know, auditors prefer, I think it's between 20 and 30% of your annual budget, which we're at, you know, and so it's good. But I mean, it helps too that I have two financial wizards in my, you know, administration. Our CFO, Jason Couture, and then Dan Bazura, my chief of staff. You know, he's got the banking background and everything. So, as I said many times, they've taught me so much about the depths of a budget, and I really appreciate everything they've taught me. And you know, I've learned a lot. And
when you talk to people out in the public, do you feel like the city of Taylor is in a good spot?
I think so. Yeah, you know me. I go out and about. Sure. I'm out there just like I used to be. And the good thing is everybody comes to me and has, you know, usually tells me they appreciate the job I'm doing and what we're doing. And you know, I have some naysayers out there, and I get that. That's part of it. Every
It's
time I make a
unavoidable.
decision, I know somebody's not going to like it.
Right.
So, but as a whole, I'm not afraid to go places, and I have yet to have anybody, you know, really, you know, I can't remember who it was. Somebody just recently asked me if I had a bodyguard. I said, I don't even have a city vehicle, you know, jokingly. And but, you know, I will say that the police do a pretty good job. You know, like Hallapalooza, you know, they make sure their vehicle's next to mine and stuff. If there's major events, you know, they're by me. But I don't feel threatened and stuff. But it is kind of a crazy world out there, so I have to be a little aware. And I've always been that way from my military background anyway. So.
On the communications front, that's always an important thing when you're in government. We're doing this regular cable show. We've now got the support packets online for all the council agendas and things where they can see what people are voting on and they can delve into the packet. And on top of that, you added the donation policy, which even last night at the council meeting you had to bring something forward from Walmart, if I'm not mistaken. And all of that is a plus, and that none of that was in play previously.
Yeah, it was one of those things that I used to see, and you know, there was, when I got in, even a little before, you know, I would talk to Jason, our CFO, and stuff, and we would go over some things, and you know, I wanted to make some tweaks to the ethics ordinance as well, but you know,
yeah, exactly.
So, but I think it's a good thing because, you know, people donate to the city, and sometimes they're labeled for that, and I just really don't think that's right, because there's a lot of good businesses in the city that want to give.
Right.
You know, we changed how we do the Christmas party, and a lot of vendors in the city, not even people that are vendors, you know, like Bubba's and Texas, you know, these people donate, but we looked at it as far as, you know, from Jason, that if they donate it to the city, that becomes tax dollars. And we cannot use tax dollars to have a Christmas party. So we changed the format. So we now have a Christmas party, and we have a list of how much everything costs. And there's people all the time, like a lot of churches, even non-Christian churches want to help cover our Christmas lunch for our employees and everything. So that's the way we do it now. And it works out great, because that way, if Carl Zymak wants to donate to our Christmas party, he can go to the list and say, okay, I'm going to buy the desserts from here. And then you pay directly to that company and stuff. So it works out good. And, you know, I think it's great for the employees. It's great for morale. But it's just one of those things that I think it's good that council knows, and if the residents want to know who donates money, like, you know, like you said, Walmart donated $5,000 yesterday. And we had to bring it under mayor's communications so we could get it passed, because the police officers are going to go shop for gifts for Christmas.
Yeah, because that's more of a shopping with
yeah,
with
so
the kids
anything,
thing.
we kind of did it like, you know, what we do with any donation over $2,000 needs council approval.
Gotcha.
Anything under, it goes through the city and I sign off on it, but it's being listed on our list of donations for the year.
I assume council is on board with that? And
Yeah,
they
I mean, they
like
haven't
that
voted
idea?
down any, so that's good, you know, that's good. But, you know, I would have, that was one of the things that I thought would have been nice when I was on council, just to kind of see what's going, who's giving what and stuff. So I think that's good.
Excellent. Business development.
And just going
Yeah,
back
go
to
ahead.
the show, I do want to commend you and Joe and Sam. I get a lot of compliments on how you handle yourself in these positions, you know, how you do your interviewing and stuff. So I do get a lot of compliments
Well,
on the
we've
job
talked-
you do. So
we've
kudos to
talked
you,
before
Joe
the-
and Sam as well.
This is you and I could be out at
Yeah, we get into
JP's
good
having a beer or
conversa- yeah, we
something.
get into good conversations anyway.
But no, but thank you. I appreciate that. The business development is really continued to churn very well. Now we have lost some businesses and things like that, but that's the churn that you run into.
Yeah, and we kind of, you know, circle back and see with everything, because at first, you know, we wasn't sure with CMAC if they were still, met with them a couple months ago at 100%. They should start breaking ground, I think, maybe in the spring. You know, I have to say, every time we talk about Chick-fil-A. I was kept telling, but all their permits are approved by the city of Taylor. All their permits are approved by Wayne County.
Right.
The last I'd heard, they were talking to the mall about some parking spots. I heard that was done, so I don't know when they're actually going to start breaking ground.
But
I
they're
know there
coming.
was like a cutoff date,
Right.
to where if they didn't start at this point, they may be waiting till spring.
I
But
see. Okay.
everything's ready to go with Chick-fil-A. They
Which is
purchased that building,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
so unless they decided that, but we have not gotten that. We were told they're still going. CMAX coming.
Right.
There's a couple other. Should be making that announcement pretty soon, but we got another big one in the hopper right now,
Right.
and they're getting ready to submit plans. So I'm going to kind of wait until they do.
Well, I know on the top of my list, the two on the top of my list was the I-94 Metro Commerce Park, which was approved a while
They're
ago.
moving ground over there now.
And
They're
moving
building
ground.
the berm right
Right.
now.
Okay. And UniFirst, and that headquarters is up.
I think they're in now, 100%.
Right. What's your take, especially on the I-94 Commerce Park issue? Because I know originally you weren't really for that, and you had trepidations. You were from that area.
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up in that neighborhood, and all the people that live on Beverly, most of them are still, from when I was a kid and stuff. So there was concerns, and my biggest concern was how close were they going to be to Beverly,
Right.
and how high was the building. So, that was the reason I voted no. I just didn't think that was it was a little too big, I thought, and everything. So, as things progressed. And even when I became it passed, so it was happening.
Sure.
But to their credit, when I got in, we talked and stuff, and they decided to move the building further back and actually lower the height of it a little bit, and brought in the whole berm process and stuff. So I think it was a good, happy, medium and stuff. So.
Well, the other thing about that is, and I know we've talked about this privately, is that is a contaminated site. And this organization coming in had a well-documented past with being able to develop these sites.
Absolutely. That's what they specialize in that. They find kind of like toxic, contaminated sites and have the knowledge to go in there, and there's programs and everything like that. And Carl, if you remember, probably 6 years ago, we were willing to give that property away for $1,
Right.
just to get away from the liability and all the stuff, and we ended up getting close to $2 million for it.
Which is
plus tax
fantastic.
base, future
Yeah.
tax base. They did qualify for a brownfield, of course.
Right.
So, but still, I think it's going to be beneficial.
Now the along some of the dragways here, we've had some very interesting developments. I know there's a possibility of a Sonic coming in. We've talked about Chick-fil-A on Pardee. It's been a little while now, but Kudos going in there was, quite frankly, a very unique organization that came in, and we still have the hotels going up really quickly on the Eureka 75 route. Anything there really catch your eye? It probably all does.
Well, there is. All those are great places. One of the thing I was just talking about, that's going to be over by Menards in that area.
Right.
That's going to be a nice entertainment style place.
Sure.
But again, I'm going to wait till they submit the plans. The hotels going in over there will be a nice touch. They're cleaning that area. It seems like they're really going now.
Right.
There was some talk about something going in front of that, which I can't quite touch on yet.
Right.
But
it would make sense.
It would. It
Yeah.
would absolutely make sense, and it would be a nice addition over there. So the other, we're still getting a lot of these calls, through Aerotropolis and stuff. Taylor, even Southeast Michigan seems to be booming a little bit right now. So we're fielding a lot of calls. The biggest obstacle is, wetlands and, environmental type situations.
sticky
And it's been tough for all municipalities because it's, in my opinion, it's a little too over
rigid.
the top.
Yeah. Okay. Alrighty. Between the two of us, we were almost at all of these together. Several of these places had grand openings in October. Okay. The Ichiban Japanese Steakhouse, which was a blast.
Yeah, that was really nice.
Right over on Eureka. We were at Tasty Burger, which is Soroki's Chicken.
Yeah.
And the corner store. They have those three
All in
together
one with the gas station.
on Telegraph and Van Born. There's just the new scooters out here, that kiosk, just, what is that, south of the old Moose there?
Yeah, it's right next to
Yeah,
Tubby's because
right
they
with
kind of share a
Tubby's.
parking lot. I'm
Right.
not a big coffee guy, so I haven't been there yet, but I've heard rave reviews.
I've heard good things about
Yeah,
it too.
yeah, I've heard really good reviews.
McGuire's is getting ready with the old trolley stop
Yep,
on
I just talked to
Pelham.
Jason the other day, and I'd like to get in there and check it out and see what he's done because it looks beautiful from the outside. And we talked a couple years ago when he just got that, and was kind of asking me like, hey, what would really,
Right.
and I told him, I said, well, you have JP's bar, which has got great food, great, I love JP's,
Sure.
and I said, people are always wanting a little more of a higher end restaurant, so this may be an opportunity. So I think that's where they're kind of going. But I saw some of the preliminary drawings, and it looks like it's going to be pretty nice
It
inside.
looked very
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
I
And
know when
Jason
I-
does everything top notch.
Yeah.
He's got the restaurant down there in the marina and stuff, and what's the name of that city? Not Carlton. Gibraltar. Yeah.
Gibraltar,
Yep,
yeah,
yep.
right on the
Yeah.
right on the water there.
Yeah.
We've got a new Big B's coming up on Goddard near Beach Daily. There's a Taco Bell going on Eureka, okay, down in the southwest corner. We had this Dollar Tree come in along Goddard here. There's, even Southland Mall, as of last year, the end of last year, had brought in 14 new tenants. The Gardner White, which had moved from one side of the city to the other, ended up keeping the other.
Yeah, so the story I had heard, I don't know if there's any truth to this because I didn't hear it from them, but they were expecting, that they're getting more traffic down there,
Right.
but they thought more traffic from like Dearborn Heights would
Might-
come that way,
yeah.
and it kind of didn't. So they decided to keep that, and they're still, it's kind of like Home Depot over here on Telegraph, and they kept the one over on Eureka,
Right.
and they're both still doing pretty good. So.
So in other words, you're confirming that it has nothing to do with the Gardner White Cop.
No, it has nothing to do with that. We don't,
But you have to be pretty happy with seeing all of this. A lot of business tax base.
absolutely.
I mean,
Telegraph seems to be, to where we have aggressive people coming in willing to buy out people and maybe demolish and build brand new. So which would be great. Telegraph is our main avenue, and definitely a lot of traffic that goes up and down Telegraph. So we're excited with some of the phone calls we're receiving, but again, not all of them come to fruition.
Sure. Well, a good example of what you're talking about is what Pete's Place did with that strip mall. I mean, that was pretty
That was an old,
pretty bad.
I think that was an old hotel back in the day. Yeah.
Exactly. And now he really put a nice
It looks
face
nice.
on
It looks really nice. But Pete's looks nice. And,
Right,
I always tease them. I know Pete's, and actually I think they're celebrating their 40th anniversary on Friday.
Correct. Yeah.
And so, when he added that bar and everything on, I'm like, what are you doing, and stuff. And he clearly knew more than I did.
I hear you.
He, that definitely shot that place up. I mean, it's crowded all the time. You know.
I hear you. Well, as far on the residential and senior development front, you've got new residential housing and senior living projects underway on Superior Parkway. You've got them on you've got them on Goddard here, and then there are some townhouses going off Racco, south of the Wayne
where
County
the old
Community
school
College.
was,
Yeah,
yes,
right, exactly.
Have they started down there yet?
I don't believe they
Okay.
have. I haven't noticed that they've started.
From what I heard, I think they dropped off material
Okay,
and stuff. So.
alrighty, okay.
Yeah, that's going good. Just want to touch on that real quick. So, a lot of these were in the hopper. I don't hide my opinion. I do not. I want the city of Taylor to kind of stop on the apartments, stop on the senior living, multiple housing, and focus on single-family homes. So. But I will say that the places that have been being built and that are built here recently are very nice places.
Is it tough on you and others who are in charge politically? I think the Taylor population is scared of multi-resident facilities. They have good reason to be.
We have a lot.
Yeah,
And that's the thing. We have a lot of apartments in the city of Taylor, and not that that's a bad thing, but we have a lot.
Right.
And You know, I think that is a concern. You know, there was talks about over off of Goddard, you know, behind the Continental neighborhood.
That's
you know,
the one
that
we
was
talked about.
And to me, at the end of the day, it got a little heated at, you know, the zoning meeting and stuff. And but, you know, I'm not going to knock a business person for that wants to come to Taylor and wants to. It just wasn't the right fit in the right location.
Right.
And so they were very nice gentlemen. I talked with them and stuff, and the neighbors were passionate, but I think they saw the process and was happy how, you know, because you know, the planning and zoning all agreed that that wasn't the spot, and then council also agreed that it wasn't the spot. So you know, I think that's the biggest thing, and it does seem like I would say the majority of council has the same opinion that I have, that you know, there's a lot of multifamily housing in the city of Taylor already, that we need to start building our tax base up with single family homes, and there's a lot of locations, and I know, you know, like Pennsylvania and Telegraph, they want to start, but again, FEMA and Eagle and stuff has just really slowed that process down. MJC has wanted to build over there, and they're running into obstacle upon obstacles from work that was done there prior to them getting, you know, like when they redid Telegraph, they buried a lot of cement there and stuff. So it's been tough to navigate that, but I'd love to see new houses go up, and that brings in families and, you know, helps fill the high school, the schools, and it's better for everyone.
You know, you touched just a moment ago on the issue of things that may have been started under a different administration that you're now finishing. You know, and some people, and they usually hide behind aliases on Facebook and on social media, have criticized you for
No.
Well, but they've criticized you for that, for, you know, quote unquote, taking credit for somebody else's doing or whatever. When you and I have talked, okay, I find that a little hypocritical, because on the one hand, they're saying, "Oh, that's a good project." On the other hand, they're being critical of who's bringing it home. Well, somebody has to bring it home.
Carl, here's the thing. So in reality, when I came in, I thought it would be very disrespectful that if I really tried to stop everything that I voted no on.
Yeah.
Okay, so I decided that even if I voted no on a project and that project was going, I was going to complete it.
Yeah.
I got beat up over the signs at Eureka, and you
I
know
believe
I voted
everybody
no
has.
against it, you know, and so I got beat up all on that, and that happened prior, but you know, that was already in the hopper.
Oh, sure.
Everything. So, you know, but that was one of the things I decided to do. The only thing that I really put the skid on was, and I had to reach out to the county, was going from the soccer fields at Phoenix Park to revamping Lang Park.
Right.
And the county was all for it, and Guido and I and Dan, and we sat down there and crunched it, because they're like, you got 7 days to get us a plan, you know, so worked out great, and they're finally, you know, there's things going out for bid right now. You know, I picked all the colors for the playscape over at Lang Park, so that was really the only thing that I really said, we're not going to do that.
Gotcha.
Let's go this way. Now, if the county would have said no, then we would have had to have done that. But I did not.
And quite frankly, I think everybody is very excited about
I
the
think so, too.
redevelopment of Lang Park. That has been a hidden gem for a long period of time. Piece of property is very nice.
Yeah, and I think it'll be a nice, you know, kind of a quiet park a little bit, you know, and with the new camera systems and everything, the security measures we have, that'll be a safe place as well. So it kind of gets you out of the city into a little wooded area, and, you know, I think it'll be really, really.
Yeah, a little water on that property and things like that. It's not bad. It's not bad.
Yeah, and that'll be part of the park, you know, that you know, things that we're going to be able to do.
You mentioned cameras. Speaking of public safety, you made a lot of progress here with Chief Lair and Chief Portis, helping create a new police hiring program to battle attrition in that department, a nationwide problem, especially in police. In addition, in growing numbers, you're diversifying the force. Anybody who's been around for any time in Taylor, it's right in front of your face. You can see that every time there's a swearing in.
Yeah.
You know, plus you've approved, this is somewhat minor, but that unique LED spotlight program where there's a little LED thing on the weapon is got to be helpful. The police, expanded the Flock license plate camera program into the city parks, especially in the Heritage Park. That's going to be really, really good. And then, you know, more equipment, more vehicles, more technology across the board. You got to be really quite proud of what you've seen with.
Definitely one of my highest ranking
Right.
things. You know, I mean, our drone program has been phenomenal, but I think the thing that I'm most proud of, in all honesty, is the building of our police force and the diversifying. I mean, it was not. We had 2 females yesterday that we sworn
Yes,
in. You know,
exactly.
it was great, Joy and Amanda. So, and there's a lot more cultures coming. You know, it's not, you know, white male
Right.
anymore. It's you know, we have females and people of all colors and backgrounds, and I think that's one of the things I'm most proud about. And I think the lateral program really helped that. And you know, I think it just shows you that our chief is, you know, behind this and stuff. So it was a thing we sat down with, me and Dan, when we came in with Chief Blair, and even some of the, what do we got to do?
Right.
What do we got to do? And there was quite a few things we had to do, you know, and then kind of had to negotiate with some of the stuff, how we did with the union and stuff, which was a little, you know,
Yeah, it could be a little
you know,
dicey.
it could be a little
Yeah,
dicey, you
yeah.
know, but at the end of the day, it all worked out, and finally, it seems like we're done with, you know, how we were getting hammered with retirees,
Sure.
you know, and I'm happy for them, and I mean, I appreciate everything, but we were getting hit quite a bit there. So every time we'd hire 2, 3 would retire and stuff, but now we're actually adding numbers. So I'm very proud of that. And the equipment and the technology makes them safer, and it makes me and you safer, you know. And at the end of the day, I'm a huge believer, and I explained to Amanda and Joy yesterday that they have a responsibility to stay safe so that they can go home to their friends and family every night.
Sure.
Because I believe that. I appreciate our police officers putting their lives on the line, our firefighters and stuff, but I want them to do everything they can to protect me, but so that they can also go home to their families every night.
Well, you know, and it's amazing when some of these new technologies and some of these new policies come into play. When you talk to veteran police people like Chief Blair or whatever, it seems like there's almost a circular effect to everything that they're doing. You know, when they put on the body cams, okay, one of the first things that Chief Blair told me was, you know, Carl, this works both ways.
Yep.
You know, it tightens our staff to what they can do. It also tightens, you know, they know they're on camera, so everybody's got better understanding, you know. And then the newest thing that they had approved that I didn't even put down on here, that I knew I should have come
marking,
up. Yes, the tagging of those cars, which could avoid a lot of high-speed chases, which are dangerous to
Absolutely.
everybody.
Some municipalities don't allow it.
Right.
You know, and we, you know, depending on the cause, but we kind of try to stay away from that as well, you know, especially in the neighborhoods and stuff like that. But the new thing, it almost shoots out like a dart
Oh, yeah.
that attaches to the vehicle, and they're able to track it at that
You track
point.
it through
So,
GPS. And,
yeah, it's the technology, especially in law enforcement, is just it's getting crazy, but it's beneficial for everyone.
well, if you can avoid
Unless
some
you're committing the crime.
Hey, if you're avoiding some fatalities along
Yes,
the way,
absolutely.
if you're keeping the public safer, that's what
Yep,
you're here for
that's what I
anyways.
want, absolutely.
That's a real positive thing. Speaking of our customers, okay, and our public, customer service, okay, you've been really big on customer service. Added staff in several key departments, relocated some customer service center staffers in an attempt to better serve the public. New direct connection telephone option to DPW, which really tightens and quickens that response when you're going to DPW. Plus, it eases the backside, which is the
Call center.
The call center. Then, you know, especially those two things I noticed were huge. What's your take on customer service?
Well, you know, that was a priority, and one of the things that I said when I campaigned was is I wanted to revamp how we did customer service and / the call center. Made it very clear when I came in to all the staff over there, I'm not cutting anybody, I'm not getting, but we need to figure out a better way to serve our residents. I will say that it's taken longer. I haven't been able to kind of do what I want to do based on our ERP system. Our technology is just not there yet to be able to make the moves that I want to move, or make, I should say. But we're in the process of that now. We're working with Plant Moran. We just got approved for the BS&A portion from assessing and treasury. That's going to make life a lot easier. And this is just the precursor to the whole ERP system, which the reason we brought that last night was because we learned through the process, no matter who we go with, we're going to have to use BS&A for assessing.
That particular.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like, let's just do this now.
Right.
And then we can take that off the ERP system, or it has to work with whoever we go with. But whoever we go with, BS&A is the only player in town for that, basically, and stuff. So once we get all that, once we go with the new company, scheduling for planning and building and customer assistant will be so much easier that it will definitely lessen the workload and the phone call to where, our online availability will be so much, and being able to pay bills online, and which is a lot of people want to do, and I think people should be allowed to do that. And so that's been the biggest delay in that. So until we can get that up and rolling, there's not a whole lot I can do with the call center, but I have taken people from the call center and put them in departments, and I would like to do that more. But I think at the end of the day, we will always have to have some sort of a customer assistance center. If somebody presses 0, that phone call's got to go somewhere.
Yeah, it's gotta go
so,
someplace,
we're still evaluating and everything, but that's probably been the one thing that I wanted to tackle as mayor that I haven't really been able to go 100% on it. So I'm at about 25%. So we were able to put people down in DPW, move a person over in the, add a person in the, but it was like, okay, you're going to start feeling your own phone calls, though. So
Well, it was interesting listening to the council conversation last night on that BS&A issue. You did expect some pushback. I mean, it made sense.
Well, it's a lot of
it's
money.
It's a big
it's
amount of money.
definitely.
But the thing was, that was a relatively quick conversation, maybe 10 minutes. And
there's
then
questions,
you got a
and
unanimous vote on it.
Yeah. I
which
think
was very
I think they
telling.
all realize that this is a step in the process,
Right.
and they're all aware of what the process is. One of the reasons that I've kind of said from the get-go is we're going to keep so much of this ARPA money here, and I want to revamp our entire IT system. Like our program, our ERP, and bring us to the 2023, or get as close to that as possible, because we're pulling 1980s, 90s stuff, and it's just old, and get away from AS 400 and bring us, and it'll make everybody's job so much easier. There's so much redundancy that we have to do because our system's so old, and so we're starting this process, and Plant Moran has been great. I think Dan and Ryan were in a meeting today to go over, but the one thing we're going to do this time is whoever we choose, they have to have a product that we can look at. Like, I can tell you BS&A is probably 95% of all municipalities in the state, and then there's another company called Tyler. Tyler is in Ann Arbor. They're in Traverse City. They're kind of an up-and-comer, but they still have to use BS&A assessing because they're approved by the state. So, whichever way we go, there's going to be a product that we can look at to where the last time that wasn't the case.
That wasn't the case. Infrastructure. Okay. A endless list of good things here. Okay. Total renovation of the animal shelter is on the planning stages and pretty close to
that's going to be
forward.
very, very big and very, very nice.
The interior of the police station was redone. Renovations across the board at the Taylor Recreation Center. The recreation of the Heritage Park activities building and into a large rentable banquet facility. Renovation of the Heritage Park caboose and railroad car, which some people may go, oh, what's that on the list for? But when you really think of it, very popular, and
people love those.
And
they were devastated to hear we almost had to get rid of them.
Absolutely. Then you look at the recreation of Lang Lang Park, okay, through a 50-50 partnership with Wayne County. The new LED lighting system on the interior walking trails at Heritage Park. Restoration of the Westbound Church, which had burned. You continued the Good to Great program. I think we went through 3, 4?
Since I've been in?
No, just this year.
Oh yeah, just this year.
Yeah, I
think
believe
we did 3 or
Ralph.
4, and we actually threw in an extra one
Yeah.
this year because we finished a little
Exactly.
early.
Continued residential street resurfacing programs, including major improvements along Wick Road and Monroe, which were key.
Yeah, WIC included the water.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah. The major sewer lining projects across the community were needed. The petting farm is going to add a new pavilion, and then we're going to get
Playscape.
Or Playscape, excuse
And
me.
pavilion.
And pavilion, yes. Going to be very nice.
Yeah,
over there.
right.
And they'll put them to good use.
Yeah.
And Rotary Park and Homestead Park are both getting new playscapes. They'll be ready by the spring.
I think they're going to be.
I think they're
I talked to
going, yeah.
Guido today, and I think he said that they're there, and I think they'll be up in the next couple of weeks.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so that's at
fantastic.
Rotary and Homestead. So.
Is there anything, that's an endless list. Anything you take more pride in than other things?
Well,
or
it's.
everything there's a positive.
Yeah, I mean, each one, you want the local roads definitely, in the neighborhoods and stuff. But your WIC roads in Monroe. Every time, I will say this, Carl, that I'm excited. Me, Dan, Ralph Richard, our DPW director, Chris Gibbs, our engineer, and usually Matt, our deputy director down there. We'll sit down and figure out a game plan of what we want to do. We get the PACER rating, as I said. It's a color-coded map. It's done every 2 years, and an engineering group drives every street in the city of Taylor, and they rate it. So the goal was, when I first came in, let's tackle all the red, because that's the worst, and then. So we've accomplished quite a bit of that, and the next group, I think, will kind of. We try to hit them by neighborhoods. If we can hit like 6 or 7 streets in a neighborhood that are, red to, I think it's orange or whatever,
Gotcha.
we're going to do that. So, and then now we've been using CDBG money as well. That we're going to do some streets off of Van Born up there by to be just west or east of Telegraph, and stuff. So those roads are starting to crumble apart a little bit. So we've really tackled the asphalt quite a bit, and then so now we're hoping that we can start doing more with cement. But everybody tends to say, why can't you do a whole street, where cement is so expensive? It's just a matter of you see a lot of a lot of cities when they're putting in new neighborhoods and stuff, they do the cement.
Yes.
Curb and sides, and then they do asphalt down the middle.
Yeah.
So cement is very expensive. So block replacement gets you a lot more bang for your buck. I know it's not a whole new shiny road, unless it was a complete Superior between Telegraph. That was all a complete failure. And we finally said there's no sense in even putting more money into this. Let's just do it all right. But in the neighborhoods, that's what we got to kind of do. And I know everybody's not always fond of that, but that's what we have to do to get our money's worth.
Sure, exactly. You're right about the asphalt program, though. The asphalt program has been very successful here. I mean, we've really gotten a lot of streets done.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, we're fortunate that we, our vendor is right here, and
big advantage.
So absolutely, and it saves us money because he doesn't have all the expenses of driving far away for it and stuff. So that's why they usually win the bid.
The other thing is, even the inconveniences, even if they're longer than you think they are, that's a short-term inconvenience for a long-term gain. WIC, it took a while, but okay, look what it is. Look what it looks like.
Yeah.
Goddard.
People get frustrated pretty quick. I will say, it is. It's, and I think part of it was this year is, like I said, I didn't know that the railroad tracks was going to come in and close every railroad track in the city of Taylor for 4 or 5 days, and then the E-Course Road wasn't aware of that project. So. I get it a little bit because a lot of avenues was cut off, and we try to coordinate with the school year. So bus drivers, we did Monroe. We wanted the Kennedy stretch done first. They ran a little, but luckily, just I wanted it done before school, and it took them about a week after the start of school.
Right.
But to their credit, they didn't do any work from like 7 to 9, so there was no traffic issues or whatever. And they were pretty much farther down. It was closer to Wick Road,
Right.
you know.
Right.
So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, at the end of the day, it looks nice.
Yeah. Oh,
You know, rides a nice. Looks nice.
I get a lot of. I had a lady come up to me the other day about Monroe Street and saying how much they appreciate it, and it's
Sure.
you know it's from the way it was to what it is now is night and day. So
On this, I had marked down a couple things that weren't directly your doing or your administration's doing, but you've been very supportive, especially you personally. One is the Taylor Business Alliance. The other one was the school bond. Hadn't had a school bond, a major school bond here for a half century. Had a lot of problem infrastructure with the schools. You supported that big time.
I did. You know, I was limited because, you know, when they came to me regarding the schools, you know, I had announced that I was going to run for mayor.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, that was my priority. But I did tell them that I would support it the best I could. You know, I couldn't be out there banging the drum every day. But, you know, I didn't hide that when I was running. I think it was time to start doing some serious look at our school situation and how old they were and stuff. So I found out that it passed the night I won as mayor, so I was elated, and now they're actually tearing down Kennedy High School to start the process. So I'm pretty excited, and I'm hoping that gets more kids to want to come to school here, or even our own kids, because I think it's like 50, right around maybe even a little more, 50% of the kids in the city of Taylor go to a different school district.
Which is amazing.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
and so
Yeah,
we
it
want to
really
try
is.
to change that. I think that a good school district benefits a community.
Absolutely.
You know, most people that want to move to play, you know, one of the first things they're looking at is the schools.
Right.
So I think I think Taylor's on a right trend here, you know, and hopefully, you know, the new school is going to be one of those selling points, you know, that, because I think the teachers, everything, you know, my kids both graduated from Truman, which is now Taylor High School.
Sure.
You know, me and my wife's both TC grads. I think the teachers now really go above and beyond the call of duty, you know, and it's tougher to be a teacher now.
It is
because
very
it's,
difficult. Yeah.
You know, back in my day, if you didn't get good grades, you know, or if you just, you know, if a teacher called your house, you know, you were going to get it. No, it's not like that anymore. But they used to paddle us too in
I
school,
hear
you know. So,
I hear
you know, not that I ever got. You know. But yeah, I think it's been great. And in the Taylor Business Alliance, as soon as I got elected, Larry and Keith came into my office and wanted to talk about it, and I thought it would be a good thing, and it's pretty successful. You know, some meetings bring in more.
Sure.
Actually, our next one's in January, and they asked me to be the guest speaker, so I'm looking forward to that. But it's a way to just get business owners together, and then we try to bring city people that work in the city, bring them out, and in that way, if they have questions, they have planning or building right there to where, boom, they can just go right there and ask questions and stuff, and it makes the process.
Just having them in the same room is a big
absolutely,
advantage.
you know, because people just, you know, especially if somebody new wants to start a business that doesn't really know how. You know, I always tell everybody, anything you do, go see Laura before you do it. You know, rule number one: go talk to Laura before you do anything. You know.
Well, the business line should get nothing but more and more traction as it goes along.
I think it is. You know.
Key hires and appointments. Okay, many of those, starting with people that you've already talked about. Dan Bazzura being named Chief of Staff and Ralph Richards being named the Director of Public Works. Those are two key positions.
Those were the only two people that, like, when, you know, when I was running or whatever, I didn't promise anybody on my team jobs, and I don't believe any of them.
Yeah.
But Dan was the very first person I talked to.
Right.
Dan was basically a contingency on me running.
Right.
Me and Dan got along. We met being on council. We got along great. We could have great debates without getting upset with one another. We trusted one another, and so I decided if I was going to do this, I need somebody there that I can trust, that will tell me exactly what they feel, you know, and stuff. And I couldn't have picked a better person for that position. I still, to this day, I couldn't imagine what life would be without him. And so he was a no-brainer. And then my next thing is I knew I kind of wanted to make a change in the DPW. And over the years, like everybody thinks me and Ralph go way back and all this stuff. I met Ralph through Little League. Didn't know him all that well. I knew him as an employee down at the compost site. But just talking with everybody that has been with the city a long time, especially in the DPW, Ralph was by far the most knowledgeable person that everybody unanimously, basically, if I said, hey, you know, who's probably, Ralph's name was always number one. So had a meeting, talked with him and see if he was, you know, because he was going to be retiring. And I said, hey, you know, even if you do retire, is this something that you would consider? And he did. So very happy with that because he's done a tremendous job down there.
The morale is
well, he's brought back the way it used to be. You know, he was Boardman's protege, and he has that same mentality and you know, morale. But you know, make sure everybody does their job and let's get it done. And I'm really happy. And we, you know, that's one of the things I was just talking about again. You know, we're hiring a lot of new people because we're starting to get quite a few retirements in DPW, but the younger crews and the younger people we're hiring are great workers, and we're experiencing that in Parks as Rec.
And that's fantastic.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely.
Now, some of the others, named Al Young to the Deputy Fire Chief, Chris Klimchuk, Community Development. You moved Rick Hopper after he retired over into HR. Mike Levedini as Chief Blair's Deputy Chief. Melanie Shahadi, went from the petting farm where she was pretty much an expert over to events and to head the recreation center. Alec Grant, golf. Allison Estorino took Melanie's job at the petting farm. And then one that you didn't fill was economic development, but a hidden gem there because you had Tim Keys, and you still do, on a part-time basis, and he's really filled a pretty important hole for you.
You know, I agree. Yeah, we're thankful that situation was there. So, you know, when I got in, Tim came to my office and said, "Hey, you know, I'm gonna check out, you know, and everything, and kind of go into retirement, you know." And I'm like, "Okay, you know." And so then George, Tim was kind of helping out with some of the things that he was finishing up on. Then George announces he's going to retire. But George was going to do the Florida thing and stuff where Tim is still here in Taylor. It worked out good to where we went to to Tim and said, hey, would you consider helping us through this transition as a consultant and stuff? And we got a really good deal on that. So I'm very appreciative. Tim knows everybody and anyone when it comes to economic development. It's amazing because when we meet with him, he just rattles off names, or I'll get a hold of this person and stuff. So he has definitely helped the transition. We are still in the process of finding an economic development director. We're finalizing that list down. So I know there's been a couple interviews, I think. So we're hoping right after the first of the year we can make an announcement on that. And,
nice thing is you do not have to rush into maybe a dangerous hire because you have somebody.
Right. No, we want somebody that's going to come in and focus on the city of Taylor. Tim has a lot of other things, you know. He's involved with you know, and in the DCC now and stuff. So you know, anybody that can get Tim or just a part of Tim wants it, you know. So we're pretty happy with the amount of people that applied, and we got some good candidates, we believe, and stuff. So I know there's been a few interviews. Once they get through go into the second interview process, that's when I come in the room kind of type thing. So, and then I think the other one was the shocker was the one that I would have never thought would have been Hopper, you know, going into HR. And he's done an absolute phenomenal job. That department is ran much different. It's ran the way I kind of wanted and envisioned it. And Rick and his team are doing. Here's a guy that came in, and then basically everybody in that department retired. So there was that was kind of a tough where we had a lot of greenhorns in there, you know, and so it kind of seems like we're all set now, and we're weathered the storm a little bit. And the new people that have come in there has been doing a great job. You know, there's still little, you know, things that we got to learn and stuff, but as a whole, we're moving smoothly now, where it was a little chaotic there in the beginning. So.
Gotcha. Did we covered a lot of ground there in 2 years, and you covered a lot of ground in 2 years with the help of the administration, the rest of it. We miss anything?
Oh,
or
boy,
I guess the other question would be, is there one thing that really stands out to you that was the key to maybe my first 2 years?
I will say that, diversifying the police force is probably my proudest.
Okay.
But the thing that I'm very, very happy about too, and people always, especially now that we've transitioned into fall, is those lights at Heritage Park. It's just something I've always seen, Carl, and it was something that I always envisioned and said, this needs to happen. And now I still get probably once, twice a week. Well, when we first switched the clocks back, people are still thankful they're out walking now, and it's lit back there to where they feel safer, and it gives them the opportunity. But I think as a whole, if I had to choose one thing, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think morale is a lot better with the employees in the city of Taylor.
Oh, I would say
and
so.
that was one of my number one focus. Getting people to be happy here, to want to work here, and to when they come in, they want to come into work, and I think there's a lot of work that goes into that, and I do my best to make sure that they're all appreciative, or appreciated, because I appreciate them, and I know the residents do. You're going to have those people on Facebook that, there's one guy with a shovel and 3 guys are watching, and stuff like that. That's the way it happens. Only one guy can dig at a point or certain things, and so. But at the end of the day, we have some of the most dedicated employees I've ever seen, and it's very nice, and I'm so appreciative. Not as just the mayor, as a resident of the city of Taylor, because that's what I am.
Very meaningful.
And, as a whole, that's the one thing, and I do believe in Team Taylor, and I think we've established that, and I think people are happy to be on Team Taylor now. Before we
leave, as we head for the door, a couple questions.
Sure.
Taylor Auxiliary. Okay, now that has been on hold for better part of 18 months.
The summer of would have been 22, I think.
Ever since the controversial shooting in Heritage Park. Where are you going?
Okay, well, this one's throwing me. Okay, so which camera am I looking at? This one?
You're looking at that one.
I have never once ever said that I was getting rid of the auxiliary. I wanted to say that in the camera. I have no intentions on eliminating our auxiliary police. We had a major situation that has caused a huge delay. I can say that the Michigan State Police is conducting an investigation. Has it taken longer than I've wanted or expected? Absolutely. I was told about a month ago that we should be getting some sort of idea of it, or who's going to be charged in this. So they asked us to put the program on hold, which we said we would. Now the lawsuits are happening. Right. So when the initial thing happened, insurance companies and lawyers and everything like that, which is unfortunately, believe me, it drives me crazy. It's something that we have to deal with almost on a daily basis here. So the insurance companies, the lawyers kind of got involved, talked about how, because we have to have insurance on the auxiliary to cover them if something happens. Right. So insurance companies can dictate, and luckily an insurance company can say, well, we're not going to insure them anymore. Right. So that was one of the pitfalls. Luckily we didn't run into that. We are able to do that. But there's going to be a lot of changes to the program when it gets reinstated. It's probably been a few months that I've talked to the former chief. I've reached out to him and told him that I would like him to come back and help restart the program, so to speak. At that time, he said he would be definitely willing to, but it's going to be much different. And I think some of the officers that was on there might not want to come back because of it, but they're going to look different. Their uniforms have to be different. Their vehicles have to be well marked And you know, like I said, and now the biggest thing is why I can't talk about it too much is the lawsuits have started.
Lawsuits have
you know, and then there's more than a couple of those going right now and stuff. So you know, once we get some, at least if you know, I got to wait to see who's going to be charged, and once that happens, then I'll see. Okay, can we bring back the program and then to make sure the people, you know, because I got to wait and see if people are going to be charged or something. I'm not going to bring them back for the auxiliary and stuff. The auxiliary police they're not police officers, and insurance companies and lawyers are saying that we have to make it very clear to show that, you know. So horrible situation, as you can see.
But you got to play
I
it
probably
out.
never shook my head so much in my life in a single day. It was horrible. Luckily, no lives were lost that day, but it was a lot of mistakes were made on that day, and that's why we're in this situation. So,
Understood.
but again, I have no intentions on doing away with the auxiliary police. I like them. They help us
Right.
on the holidays, summer festival,
Sure.
Junior League World Series. They're a part of the city, and I definitely have every intention on bringing them back when I'm able to do so. And I know people are getting impatient, but the biggest thing is people are putting comments out there that are totally not true. I've never once said that.
And the bottom line is you're the guy who has to do your due diligence
I do,
on this
you
issue.
know, and that's one of those things. I'm not going to do something if, you know, I got to wait until all the cards are out in front of me,
Right.
you know, and stuff. So, but I have every intention, you know.
Well, last note that you'll really appreciate this one.
Had another
Let's go to
curveball?
the marijuana ordinance.
Okay, yeah.
I understand that a couple of those locations have been.
I believe 3 have been approved.
Okay, all right.
I could be misspeaking. I know
Now-
2 for sure.
Now, when you say approved, that means that they passed the test through the clerk,
They're ready to go.
or they're
Yep,
ready to go.
Yep. So
Okay,
once
all
they
right.
get approved, they can go ahead and start the process. They
Okay.
have to make, you know, the distance and all that other
Right.
stuff. There's been 2 approved, but I think a third one was approved.
Okay.
One was denied because of a distance. You know, like if you get one, I have to now be 2,500 feet from
Correct.
you.
Yeah.
So if you get it, you eliminated me and stuff like that. I know Cindy sent those out, so not positive on the actual locations, but there's going to be one, looks like at Racco in Pennsylvania. There's one over, it looks like it's going to be kind of on Eureka by Pennsylvania, or by Allen,
Okay, all righty.
tucked back on that little, over there by the big, what was that, Horizon building or whatever?
Yeah,
What was
yeah,
the
yeah,
big
yeah,
tall
yeah,
one?
okay.
They found a location, you know, that it just kind of, hey, this qualifies. They did their due diligence. So, and then there's another one over on Trolley, I believe, by Inkster. So
Now, do these organizations then have to climb the same stairway that a regular business does come
Oh, yeah,
in?
absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, they would have to go
yeah,
through all of those
planning,
things.
yeah, absolutely.
They'd have
you
to
know,
go
and
through the
stuff.
planning commission.
So, well, what it does is, I know it's a little different. They had to meet the zoning.
Okay,
And
all right.
because it's approved, because of these are kind of, but they still have to go through the building department
Right,
and make
okay.
sure, like one of the things Jesse wanted, because he wasn't sure if there was any different ordinance or on like the filtering, you know, and pretty much isn't, you know, so, but, you know, our police officers will have to inspect these locations, you know, our clerk will have to stay up, you know, and stuff, so, you know, they've received their permits. I believe one is talking about tearing down an existing place and building new, which is good for a tax base. The one is going to go into, but I think 2 of them might be building new facilities for it and stuff. So I think there's 3 that's been approved. I don't know their actual names or stuff. But I do think there's going to be a lawsuit or 2. Which, you know,
Are
we
you,
kinda,
because you live this through council, a lot of your time on council, are you glad that the that the end is in sight? Or
I think that,
what's
you know,
your
I mean,
take?
you know me, I wasn't in favor of this. I just didn't think it was something we needed. You know, and there was a lot of people that disagreed with me, and there was people that agreed with me. But now that it's done and over with, I'm kind of relieved. You know, it's just now we have to do our due diligence. You know, it's just gonna. You know, the clerk's office has had to do a lot of work here. You know, kudos to Cindy. She's had to do a lot of, you know, looking up things. She's worked with our lawyer Ed quite a bit on things, and so we want to make sure all our ducks in a row. A lot of them were getting a little like, well, this is taking a long time. Well, hey, sorry, we're going to do it the right way. Sure. We don't want to, you know, oh wait, we didn't mean that or whatever. So, you know, at the end of the day, we're going to do what's right. And if they got to wait a little longer, I'm not. That doesn't bother me in the least bit. You know, but I am kind of glad it's kind of over with, to be honest with you. And we'll see. Hopefully, you know, we don't have any issues. I know the one on Racco, they have a few locations and stuff. And I did reach out, and I did hear good things. So, you know, it's just, you know, something we'll be able to offer. Like you know, every time we announce, you know, the Taco Bell on Eureka or Chick-fil-A, we don't need that, we don't need that. You know what, it's giving people a choice, you know. So I am kind of glad it's coming to an end somewhat. So, but part of me does think there's going to be probably some legal issues, not from our end, but, you know, sometimes if people don't get picked, they, you know.
Oh, yeah.
That's all I'll say.
It's a very litigious society.
It is,
There's
it
no
is.
doubt
Absolutely.
about that. Well, you mentioned the end, and I think we're at the end. Hey, happy holiday, Taylor.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, everybody. Have
Merry
a great
Christmas
holiday,
and happy holiday to you and yours.
Looking forward to it. You usually ask me if I want to give a shout out. So
I was going to ask you that. I'm going to surprise you on that one.
Well, I mean, I've touched on pretty much everybody has done such a phenomenal job this year, but I'm going to be a little selfish here and give a shout out. My daughter's graduating from college on next Sunday.
Fantastic.
With her master's degree in accounting, so I'm very, very proud of her. And my son Dylan turns 29 on Friday, so you know, but as a whole, I just want to say that, you know, another year has gone by, and I couldn't be proud of everybody that works here, you and your staff as well, Joe and Sam. There's so many times where, you know, my second shift starts at 5 o'clock, you know, and I got to go to a lot of things, and I see you, Joe, or Sam there and stuff. So your guys' dedication goes a long way, and it's much appreciated, as well as every employee in the city, everything they do, and the conditions and sometimes the circumstances. So today I'm going to give a shout out to every single employee in the city of Taylor.
Well, it sounds fantastic. And I think that's going to be it for now. Thanks for joining us for our December version of From the Mayor's Desk, featuring Mayor Woolley. For Joe Camilleri behind the control board, I'm your host, Carl Zymak. We'll see you with the next episode in 2024.
That's right.
Can't believe it's 2024.
Happy holidays, everyone.